Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chat Channel. My name is Tim Hayden, and I'll be your host. We have a great show for you today. Our guest is the beautiful and talented Lolita Milena. Lolita is a paraplegic actress, model, and author. She was born in Siberia and migrated to the United States in 2002 as a toddler with her foster family. She's performed in an accumulated 20 theatrical productions. During her junior year of high school in 2017, she wrote her first novel titled 2259 in 20 days and has written 3 more novels since. Lolita's starred in several movies, but most recently starred as Jenna in Lionsgate and BuzzFeed's One Up. Please welcome Lolita to the show. Welcome, Lolita. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I'm glad to hear that everything's going all right. I guess I'll jump right in like I do everybody else. I know everybody gets tired to me saying this, but my first question is usually the same. What was it like for you growing up? You don't have to go deep if you don't want to go deep. It's totally up to you.
Well, I'm adopted. I'm a first generation immigrant, and I grew up with 8 sisters and 1 brother. So
Wow.
when people ask how I grew up, it was I would say, hectic.
Right. At least.
I grew up with 6 of the 10 of us, I would say. So 7 of us under one roof.
Man, that's a lot of people. I mean, I grew up with a lot of kids, but it was only for a couple of years. There were 10 of us in a 3-bedroom trailer, but that was only for, like I said, a couple of years. Nothing like growing up with 10 people, 10 siblings alone.
Oh yeah, and all of them were sisters because my brother was already grown up, had his own family started, so it was all girls.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. Can't even imagine. I had 1 girl and that was goodness. So when did you know that acting was your path?
I would say I would say movies were my passion because that's how my mother and I bonded when I was little. I spent a lot of time in hospitals as a child. I spent more time at the hospital than at home. So she would bring films for us to watch. So I grew very attached to the 80s and 90s, like Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, any Clint Eastwood film. I was very attached to those. So when I got into acting was when I was offered a role as Clara's little sister in the Nutcracker Ballet with my state's like head ballet company. I was offered that role. So I would say that got me interested first. And I got over my stage fright quite quickly.
I did skip one question I wanted to ask you. So I'm aware, but the people watching may not be. Can you tell us how you ended up in a wheelchair?
Oh yeah.
Go as far as you want. You know, I'm not looking for anything. I'm not those gotcha people.
It's totally fine. So I was born in Russia, being a first generation immigrant, and my then foster family. I always have to clarify because people always confuse that I stayed with the family that did this. I did not. I don't talk to them. They brought me to the States, and that following autumn, through an instance of child abuse from the foster father, I was left paralyzed permanently from my waist down. So that is why I'm in a wheelchair and why I'm very, very quick.
Well, I've got to say, I hope everybody's going to follow you. All of your links, and if I missed any link trees, also there is in the description of this. I mean, you're incredible. You take it. You are so positive about it. I have a friend. Her name's Amy Copeland, which foundation is necrotizing fasciitis. She's a survivor of that, but she's a quadruple amputee. Mm-hmm. And y'all remind me of each other. You've got so much energy and it's so much positive energy. I mean, you all need to follow her and definitely look at her YouTube videos. Definitely look at those. Those are awesome. Well, I'll get back on task from that one. Is there anyone that inspired you?
My dad.
Your dad?
Easy answer. My father was a member of Mensa. So he was a very, very intelligent man. And he passed away unexpectedly in 2012. And I would say he was pretty much the foundation of who I would later become. So I just kind of built off of his lessons, his teachings, his kind heart. And so he's probably my biggest inspiration. And I try to keep him alive in every project and creative thing that I do, if that makes any sense,
Oh, absolutely.
no matter how small it is.
That absolutely makes sense. I mean, my mother's been gone for 7 years. I still talk to her every once in a while when I'm by myself, you know. I know she's here in spirit, but she's here. So yeah. You've been in many theater productions. Many. What are some of your favorites? I'm not saying you don't like the others. Not saying that by any means.
Probably the Nutcracker easily first, because it was what got me interested in theater and dance to begin with. So I was in that for 5 years straight. And for just theater productions, I loved The Addams Family. I was a tango dancer, so I got to learn and study tango for that, which was super cool.
Wow.
And I loved that one. I loved Oliver Twist because of the really interesting role of playing an orphan boy, because they didn't have enough boys where it was performed. But The Addams probably my number one favorite.
I haven't seen it. I've seen it on movies. I have not seen the theater version of it.
Were you
I would
raised?
love to.
Were you raised on the '60s show like I was?
Oh yes. Oh yes. But yeah, but some of those that you watch now, not from the 60s, they were reruns for me. But a lot of shows you probably watch in reruns, I watch live. So oh, do you enjoy singing? I could not find anything about singing on you anywhere. You never mentioned it. Didn't see the videos, so I couldn't.
It's because I was raised by a family who really, really teaches being humble. And part of that comes with you're not that great of a singer, even though I did make it through some really very close calls with Universal Studios Wicked. I got very, very close. But I do applaud Marissa, who did get the part, because she's also paraplegic. So I'm very, very happy for that. And awesome. I've been in 10 musicals, but it was always ensemble. But I do like to sing in my car.
See, that's me. I'm a master singer when I'm here by myself.
Yep.
I'm my worst critic, and I'm my best promoter.
Same here.
Did you go right into modeling right after school? Because I know you've done a lot of modeling.
The modeling was an accident. So with my Abercrombie and Fitch little moment, it was because I had a friend who was actually part of the campaign, and he recommended me as one of their other people. Right. So that was an accident, but I still have the bottle of cologne they gifted me. And cool. Ever since then, I just kind of go with whatever brands seem to pop into my emails. So it just sort of happened because I would say of TikTok, and I'm very, very grateful for all the opportunities that app gave me and continues to give me.
Yes, that's a great app. You have a great page, I guess you would say, on there. I'm on TikTok. I've never done a TikTok, but I've watched them. And you've got, oh my God, I think it was almost 800,000 followers.
Getting close, and hopefully continue.
I think it's awesome. I mean, it's growing every day. I started following you as soon as I heard about your name. I started following you on there. So, and it's good. I mean, a thing I like about yours is you include things like something may have happened to you that day, or your situation, or you try to incorporate that in some way, and it's always positive. And I think that's awesome.
I think it's because it was the family I was raised with, because my parents were, because they retired from it, they were, what's the title? Emergency placement for children with special needs. So almost all of my relatives have some form of special needs. And we were all raised around it so commonly to where that was the last trait about us. So instead of, oh, Lita is in a wheelchair, it was Lita's all of these things, and she uses a wheelchair. So that was the same thing with my sister who is deaf. I have a sister who's also in a wheelchair through a similar instance. So for us, we were all raised that we make jokes about it all the time. We make jokes about our situations. So I kind of forget when I see comments of people being so curious if they're allowed to laugh, because I forget that not everyone was raised the way that we were, to where, well, yeah, you laugh. It was for fun.
I think I was very lucky the way I was raised. My grandmother, before I was ever born, she was had a stroke and was paralyzed on her left side, arm and leg, and she couldn't talk. She could say things like "doe" and "shoot." You just kind of figure it out. And I was raised with that, and I think it helped me because I didn't have the issue of seeing someone with special needs as a kid. Going, "Who's that? What's wrong with him?" I think, and that's why, because I was raised with my grandmother like that. And I don't know, because today, especially, kids can be cruel. Kids can just be really cruel. I mean, they could back then, but it's gotten worse with being able to talk behind a screen.
Well, with me growing up, the kids weren't rude. I don't think I ever faced one really rude comment from a child. It was always the adults I would face criticism from. And I learned to make sarcastic comments by the time I was 6 years old, because I was in the hospital and this little boy came up to me and asked, "Why are you in a wheelchair?" And I was recovering from surgery and I just wanted to look outside the window. And so I didn't really say anything. And my mother and I noticed it was the mother pressuring the son to keep asking me. And so I realized it's a lot of adults that push the children to ask,
Right.
or cruel in some sense. But luckily, knock on wood, I never faced ridicule from peers.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Like I said, I deal with NF, so that's a lot of scarring and involved, and that's where I hear it the most from. I mean, and it's just terrible, some things that have been said to. Okay, on to more positive things. You've published, and I am so amazed by this. You've published 4 books. Your first book you wrote while you were a junior in high school. I believe it was called Sweet Dreams. No, 2459. 2459. I'm sorry. And it was, I mean, I haven't read it. I'm not going to lie, because a week was not enough time for me to read 4 books. So, but can you tell us a little bit about that? About your books?
2459, I titled it specifically that because when I came from the orphanage, they took away the children's names and replaced them with a number. Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Hello?
Yes, I was just showing your books. Sorry.
So with 2459, they took away the children's names and replaced them with numbers. So that's why I incorporated my number, which was 2459. And the story basically is about 2 children who were born through ultimate scientific methods, no biology really required. And they were both born at decades apart. And so they finally come together and realize that their government from their home country is trying to use them as weapons, essentially. So they're trying to figure out, is that even what we want to do? Or do we just want to be people?
Well, the thing about that book in particular, the first one, that's really amazing is that it was a challenge in high school. You were junior in high school and it was a challenge. And you didn't only meet the challenge, you exceeded it, because it was supposed to be 50,000 words in 30 days. And you did over 14,000 over. So that was 64,000 words in 20 days.
Yes.
And you won. I didn't know what that stood for, the NANOWRIMO, but that's the award that you won.
For like a National Writing Month challenge. They do it every November.
I didn't want to butcher it, so I didn't attempt to. And you've done, like I said, you've done 3 others since then. Sweet Dreams, Duplex 683, and 0101.
Yes.
You like numbers.
Yes, I do.
Numbers.
I didn't realize that until I was publishing 683 that I leaned back and went, people are going to be so confused if they're looking at trying to talk about my novels.
No, it's awesome that you did that. Tina Sloan, she was on yesterday. She's written 3 books, and the 2 novels that she's written, one was called Chasing Cleopatra, and the next one, which is a sequel, is called Chasing Othello. So she's got a theme, and I like that you're going with a theme on your titles, the
It was an
numbers. Well, I mean, that's your niche. Can we expect any sequels, or are you maybe working on anything more? Like I said, I haven't read the books. I don't know how they ended, so I can't say there can't be a sequel.
I'm currently working very snail's pace on the final novel to the 2459 trilogy. I wanted to make it a trilogy ever since I wrote the first one. People love Duplex 683 the most, and it's my favorite as well, personally, but I don't plan to write a sequel for that one ever. And whenever I tell people that, they get so sad.
No. So I take it you enjoy writing. I mean,
I do.
I'm not a word person, which it's obvious if anybody reads my promos and stuff, you could tell, but I try. But I love that they come to you so naturally to be able to put it on paper. Well, I mean, come on. You wrote a novel in less than 30 days, 20 days. You wrote a full novel. Come on. As a junior in high school. Heck, I think a junior in high school, I was having to count up, making sure I had enough words for paperwork to turn in.
Oh, I annoyed my teacher growing up.
Oh, did they just say, "Oh my God, not another book"? You handed stuff in.
Whenever I'd have to write papers, they would make the kids' minimum requirement 2 pages, but my maximum 2 pages. Or else I would just keep going.
I love that you had to have a maximum put on you. When I was like, please, can I put the anywhere else? Where can I use a?
Double space it.
Exactly. They won't miss that. They won't catch that. Which I had it easier. Nowadays, it's on the computer and you send it in automatic, which I didn't know till today on my questions. It even tells me how many words I wrote on my little questionnaire thing here. Whew, they didn't have that when I was a kid. You started short films, but recently you starred as Jenna in Lionsgate and BuzzFeed's One Up. Can you tell us about this movie? I just watched it. It was a great movie. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. It's funny because I auditioned during I think it was the peak of COVID, if I'm not mistaken. It was around November, I think. So it was like right when we were saying that COVID had to be a really big deal with like lockdown. And I got the audition for a self-tape. I didn't even look at who was making it. And so I just kind of, went through it, did the read. And then when I got the call, I had to sit back and go, oh, I have a job. I didn't expect to get it. And they said, can you fly out like now? And it said no. So they luckily gave me a grace period of at least 12 hours to get to the airport because it was like 9 time.
They wanted you to fly out that minute. Oh
yes.
My gosh. Wow.
And so I was shocked. And so I got there. I was so excited. And then I actually read the thing and I saw Lionsgate for the first time and went, when did they buy this film? And then I went back to the Actors Access thing and they were there the whole time. I just didn't read it. It was a lot of fun though. And I hope to work again soon.
Well, there again, with sequels, I brought up earlier with your book, there again, they could do a sequel to that one. Like I said, I watched that movie and you were great in it. You kind of reminded me as you were supposed to be playing the blonde part, but you were a smart blonde that they didn't expect.
And I was so happy when I got to read Jenna's part because I loved how Lionsgate and BuzzFeed gave us freedom to change lines that fit what we thought was best. So a lot of the wheelchair jokes came right off the top of my head because the ones they wrote, I felt they played it too safe as someone who's in a wheelchair. And I thought, you know what? I may never work again. Let's just have a lot of, fun with this and as much fun as possible.
Well, I loved it. And it kind of put me in the mind of American Pie in a way. an older
See,
version.
I am Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect too. Yes, I forgot about that one. Well, Step Up too. In High School Musical, it was set, kind of the
Yep.
same. I loved it. If y'all haven't seen it, you need to watch it. You can find it on Amazon right now, as that's where only place I could find it. But it was an awesome
Yep.
show. It really was. And I was kind of shocked. I didn't realize the rating till afterwards. I was kind of shocked. I thought it would be at least a 13, PG-13.
We knew it was coming with the ratings itself. We knew that the gaming community was not going to like the film. So we kind of also expected the lower audience how they did. So we also knew that they weren't going to like it, but we were proud of it. So we didn't really focus on the negative comments on them.
Well, I think the only, which I don't think should have been the reason for it, was just language.
It was a little more raunchy before the final cut.
Okay. See, I didn't get to see that part. I mean, it was right there on the edge between PG-13 and rated R, but I would have thought, because it had to do with gaming, it would have been a PG-13.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be PG-13 the entire time we were filming it. And then we got the email update that it was going to be R, and we all went, ugh.
Now we can really have fun. Why didn't y'all tell us this when we were writing?
I
know. Oh my goodness. Do you remember your first day?
My first day was, we were filming the little montage bit where we were all out in the snow at this park for the LARPing. That's what it was called. And I was
okay.
Because I hadn't met any of the cast before that. They had already done at least 2 days of work before I even got there, because I had to quarantine during that time, because we missed out on a lot of the really fun parts of filming behind the scenes because of quarantining and COVID protocols. So I was super nervous because I had never even talked to Paris or Hari or Maddie or DJ yet. And so we were all meeting for the first time. It was 2 degrees outside. We were all so cold. And they had to try and push me up this snowy hill, and everyone was holding because I was so scared of falling. But that was a day. It was very memorable. And we actually did all get together at the hotel and go around the room and get to know one another afterwards, which made the rest of filming a blast.
Well, I mean, there was quite a bit of it shot outside. One of the funnier parts was the face-off between your team and the guys' team.
Yes.
Now that's when it got a little, the rating part there, but it was so funny, and it still shouldn't have.
That scene was very fun. Again, it was super, super cold that night because it was a night shoot for that one. And to keep morale high, we decided to turn into an a cappella group and sing some Lady Gaga songs. And someone on the crew turned around and said, "Ladies, with all due respect, please shut the F up."
Oh, no.
And I understood they were on a time crunch, but we were also really, really cold. We had all the heat warmer packets all on us, and we were just trying to keep morale high.
Well, I mean, I don't know about when that was done, but wasn't there a thing going around on TikTok about doing Lady Gaga, the rah rah? I'm not going to sing it because I'm not doing that. But you know what I'm talking about.
Wednesday?
Oh, did that come out after, where everybody was sitting on the steps and each person was taking a turn singing it?
Oh, I don't think that was us.
No, it wasn't you all. I was saying a bit around the same time, because it was that was what everybody's doing, is that getting their groups together and singing Bad Romance, just the first part.
Okay.
Each person had to sing it.
I had to think back to December of 2020.
I'm just saying, there's Lady Gaga. So, and there were some pretty horrendous versions of it. So, y'all couldn't have been that bad, especially as a group.
Yeah, well, we tried our best.
So are you an actual gamer?
Does a PlayStation 2 and a Game Boy count from 2008?
Yes, it does. Better than me.
I'm awful at gaming, especially when it comes to games that have any type of weapon that is not a melee weapon or a bow and arrow. I don't know anything about modern day weaponry, especially since those are really, really popular amongst games now. After 1UP, I did splurge and I bought myself a PlayStation 4, and I've played it maybe a few times now, but I'm not a gamer by any means. No.
Believe me, I'm not either. I think when my youngest was a kid, he was here visiting. He was playing, I don't know, it was one of the karate ones. It was one of the movies, and he'd never been beat. Of course, me, I don't know crap about him. I don't even know what button does what. So I just got there, start pushing the buttons, and I beat him, and he was mad. And I wouldn't play him no more because I didn't like playing. I get dizzy. The screens. It makes me dizzy.
Yeah, I can mess up with well.
I want to remind everyone you can find 1UP on Amazon, and I highly recommend that you do, for sure. So who would you like to work with? Who would be your dream person that you would love to? Meryl Streep, of course. She's fabulous.
Meryl Streep, Harrison Ford,
Harrison Ford's in 1921 right now.
Oh, really?
The prequel to Yellowstone.
Yeah, my parents are watching Yellowstone.
I liked 1883 with Sam Elliott, and then it went to 1923 with Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford, and it's fabulous. It's the only one that got a second season. 1883 didn't.
Oh.
Which I didn't like the way they ended. It was like it ended 7 episodes. Like, okay, we'll see you next year. It's like, really? 7 episodes? Come on. But they're phenomenal.
I would also say Octavia Spencer or Melissa McCarthy, because I know Melissa McCarthy would have the best wheelchair jokes. Or Ryan Reynolds would also, I think, have the best wheelchair jokes to throw my way.
But there again, the way you on your YouTube, how you use almost all your things are humorous. I mean, all of your videos are, which is great, which falls right into the Melissa McCarthy, the comedy. I think you'd be great in a comedy.
I was shocked that my first film was a comedy because I never found myself funny. So when they told me, hey, you're going to be in this dark, like raunchy, all women comedy, I went, oh, well, no one's going to remember my character because I have nothing funny to say.
You do, and you did, and 1UP. Sorry, my mind just went. I'll tell you, you'd be good as get you a good role as a detective, or as a doctor.
I would love to play a villain. They never suspect the cripple.
That's true. Maybe you can get involved with the Knives Out Glass Onion group.
Oh, I would love to meet Daniel Craig. I feel like his comedic material would be great.
And there again, who would suspect the person in the wheelchair? No, it just made me think because I watch Good Doctor, and there's a doctor on there. Oh, do you? Well, did you see where Parks? I don't know if you watch it. Dr. Parks, she got injured, spinal injury, so she got in a wheelchair. And one of the episodes I really liked because she was going to go back to doing surgery, but she was in a wheelchair, and the table was, so somehow she had them take the table apart and lower it to where she could do it from her wheelchair. That's kind of what put me in mind with you as being a physician. I think you do a phenomenal job on it.
I would have to really spend time with my sisters who are nurses to get into the character. But yeah, I feel like playing. I really wanted to play the lawyer character in LA Law that I tried out for, because I was so close to getting that role, and then I don't know what happened with the show because Hari was cast in it, and we were so excited to hopefully work together again. But I would love to play a lawyer. I feel like that'd be a lot of fun because I wanted to be a lawyer for many years. Well,
the only thing about playing a doctor, one, is the big words, and being a lawyer is you're going to have monologues, long monologues.
Oh, I've done many monologues in my career. And with big words, I don't really struggle with that just because of the people I was raised around. So I don't think I'd have an issue with that.
Mine's memory, so I couldn't play a doctor or a lawyer. I just said because I couldn't. Number one, there's too much to remember with the lawyer and the words. I'd get my tongue tied. Has being in a wheelchair caused you to lose any parts or miss out on any parts, do you think?
No.
No.
Well.
Non-specific. I don't want to make anyone angry.
Uh, I mean, yes and no, because the most recent thing, I was like their first pick throughout the entire process. And it wasn't the wheelchair itself that hindered me not getting certain parts from what they told me. It was because I have medical like help / aides that would come in and help me. And I, at the time, would say I needed to travel with them. And so that would hinder because of pay and cost for them. So now my aide, who is the best person in the world, I consider her a second mother because she's been with me for 11 years, has over the time taught me as much independence as possible so that I can still apply for these jobs and not have that be a hindrance, which is unfortunate because it's a double-edged sword with she loses out on work, but I could possibly hopefully gain work. So that's like the unfortunate roll of the dice with this job. But yes, I have lost out, but it wasn't from the wheelchair. It was more so from the things that come with being in the chair.
Right. Well,
Sadly.
I never thought about you just brought that up. I mean, Sandra Franklin, I think is her name, from New Amsterdam. She's deaf and she has a interpreter. Yes, sorry. I wonder how that. I never thought about that. About you had to have need an aide to assist you in some things, but I don't know. That's weird.
It also makes me very curious. And I was just talking about this with some of my family members literally the other day. I'm so curious as to how other creators and actors who have similar disabilities to mine, how they manage in this industry. And I always feel awkward and I never want to ask because I don't ever want to roll over someone's foot on such topics. So I just kind of sit in the back and go, how do you guys do that? How do you get around the hurdles? Because I recognize my privileges and I also recognize I'm very fortunate with all of the things that were provided to me from the state and from doctors and lawyers and all of the powers that be. And I know that not every person in my similar situation got those things as well. So it just makes me very curious. How do they do it?
And I didn't think to do research this, but I can't sit here think I can't off the top of my head think of any actor or actress that's in a wheelchair.
I follow around 10 to 15 actors and actresses who are in wheelchairs, but I am the only one with being a child abuse survivor. The number one cause, I believe, in the ones that I know of, were victims of car accidents or had cerebral palsy / spina bifida. And so when I'm looking at that, I'm like, okay, their story's a world different than mine. So I have no clue how their lives are affected with this career. And I have not yet seen anyone like me. So it's like, oh, well, now what do I do?
Well, I mean, you don't really let the chair slow you down because
No.
you could do most anything because you drive, you take
Yes.
care of yourself. I mean, you do most anything that an able-bodied person could do.
I remember during One Up, there was a montage. If you remember the montage of us girls getting ready for the game and whatnot, and practicing, there was a little bit that didn't end up making the cut where we were doing push-ups and like sit-ups and stuff like that. And they asked me, well, what do you want to do? Because you can't do those. And I said, put me on the floor. I will show you how many push-ups I can do. So I was right there alongside my girls doing the push-ups as well. And I told them, I will hop upstairs and leave my wheelchair on the ground floor if it requires me to get something for a shot.
Well, I mean, you swim too.
Yes.
Like I said, I follow your social media now. I know you're a swimmer. There's several pictures, and it's probably good for you to be in this water, isn't it?
I
Mental
love
therapy?
not just because of therapy, but because there are 100% no restrictions on me. I don't have the wheelchair. I don't have walking braces. I don't have to worry about steps. I don't have to worry about ledges. I'm just in water. I'm 100% normal. And I can do
Well, it
everything the others can.
kind of takes some of the weight compression off too in
Yes.
the on your upper body.
Mhm.
Because I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know that I could do what you do with the wheelchair, wheeling yourself. Because doing my research, I was thinking, not once, not one time have you ever had an electric wheelchair that I've seen, not on. And I'm like, my God, this woman's gonna have some guns. This
Yes.
woman's gonna have some guns.
I don't talk about it often, but when I was younger, from age probably 3 to 17, I had walking braces. And my mother I hated it as a child, but I'm very, very fortunate and thankful now that she would have me in those things for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, no breaks. So I would be up in these walking braces at full height, walking around, and we had a huge backyard because it was a garden that my father nurtured through his time. And we also had a huge front yard. So I would be going everywhere for those 8 hours to pass the time. And it was because of that, I reached like my growth plates all filled. I reached my full height. It kept me fit. It gave me exercise. I was constantly exercising. So I'm very fortunate to have had those because, again, not a lot of people in my predicament do. So I had a lot of opportunity to get proper exercising care.
Well, you haven't totally closed yourself off to improvements that's going on, or have you? I mean, like, I know they have the electronic legs or chair that can help you stand up if
I
you
had
want. I mean,
I
I'm
understand.
sorry.
I had the old-fashioned version. We called it the stander. It was not it had no electricity to it, but it was basically a long board that I could like lean against, and it had big wheels so I could wheel around while standing. I would not do the electric, like robotic stander type of situation because I've seen it.
What about the exoskeletal things that they've got that help you walk? I mean, I'm just curious.
No, I would rather just go back and have manual walking braces made for me, which is something I'm looking into getting done again because I like the idea of me controlling the pace in which I swing my legs and hop where I
Right.
want to go.
That's true. But I'm going to talk to Amy because she just did a thing in Georgia, got, I forget what it's called, but they're high tech wheelchair type thing to where you can go on trails.
Okay.
She's got the parks now. At least one of the main parks has cleared a path because she advertises it all the time and has groups go out with her. It's like I don't know. It's got tracks instead of wheels, and it's crazy. I mean, if you were interested, I could hook you up with Amy and talk about those off-road, where you can go off-road and stuff.
Like a really, really cool four-wheeler.
Well, like you said, climbing up that hill, I think it would have climbed that hill for you.
Yep.
That they had to push you up. I don't know. It's just an idea. It's just things that I have access to because the foundation. All right. Let's see what the next question was. What do you like to do in your free time? I know you don't have much because you're an influencer also.
I like napping. I don't know if that's I've been drawing since I was 12. It was a hobby I picked up after my father died because it took my mind off of sad things. So I don't consider myself to really be an artist. My family loves my artwork. I haven't done it in a hot minute. So it makes me kind of upset that I haven't picked it back up as a skill. So I like to draw. I love doing makeup just as a fun painting style, free canvas. I love to read. I like reading anything spooky or fantastical. But yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I was doing my research, and if you don't want to talk about it, but it just cracked me up because you got one full video of it talking about it. your experience with medical cannabis.
Yeah.
Don't know if you want to talk about it, but it was kind of funny. I mean, not funny, but serious, because I never knew anybody that was allergic. Honestly, I didn't.
I didn't know I was either. And I don't put any blame on that company, because the people that did use my code and like used it say that it works great for them. And I was like, that's great. And they felt so bad when I told them what happened. They were calling me saying, are you okay?
Well, I want to clarify for everybody, this is medical cannabis and hemp, and it is legal, just so everyone knows. I don't want anyone saying, oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. No,
Not
it was
her.
100% legal. I went through a legit company that is approved through the government to distribute these products. They had given me these gummies, and they were Delta 8. I think that's why we really caught on at that point, because before that, I would have really bad hallucinations and swelling of my throat with the other products. And my friends thought I was just over exaggerating, because some people get very paranoid when under influences. So I thought, oh, I'm just naturally just a very skittish, shaky person. So I took one of those little treats, not really having read the entire package, which was my fault. And it hit me to a point where I was convinced I was bleeding out, because I had gotten a paper cut earlier in the day, and I would see just trails of my own blood across the floor that wasn't really there. So the hallucinations were bad. And I remember calling my parents. They don't live far from me, thank goodness. And I couldn't talk because my throat was swollen. And I just remember going, help.
Oh my gosh, your poor parents.
My mother was freaking out, and so was my stepdad. So they were there. And I was reliving them entering my room over and over and over again. Kind of like if you rewound a VHS tape, and it was a rickety old VHS tape, and so everything was slowed down when it played. That was happening. And then it would rewind in my brain and go a little quicker, rewind, go quicker and quicker and quicker until it was back to real life speed. So my mother said the reason she didn't call 911 was because she forgot my house number. Later, I did go in, I did get like an allergy test done, and yes, I am allergic. And so I threw out those gummies. I called the company and I said, it's not your guys' fault. It's my fault for not doing proper research on myself. So,
well, I mean, how could you know? I mean, even if you went to, which I've had my body tested with allergies, even those allergy shots they give you to test you, there's no cannabis that they're going to test you for. So you're still not going to know until you actually just did it.
Told them, can you test me for this? They went, huh? I said, please, I just have a hunch. Can you please just do it?
Oh, no. I can't get over your poor mom and dad. I would have, oh my gosh, getting a call like that from your kid.
I know.
I guarantee they broke the law to get there.
I remember waking up that morning. My mother had slept like in the bed with me and made sure I was like on my side. I wasn't laying on my back. She made sure I was hydrated. And my stepdad stayed out in the living room on the couch the entire night. So they made sure I was okay.
Well, I also brought up because I'm in Kentucky. It's nothing's legal right now, but Friday they did pass it in the House, and I think it's going to finally get passed medically here. Because I know a lot of people, survivors, like I said, NF survivors, who do it in their legal states for pain. Mm-hmm. Do you have any after effect lingering pains and things like that from?
I don't from the injury. I do from my spinal fusion. So I had my spine fused from the base of my neck all the way down. So I have titanium in between every disc of my spinal cord. So I cannot do the twist anymore. But I have perfect posture because I can't slouch. And all of my muscles, they told me, are pretty much now locked in place. So if my shoulder blade can go just ever so slightly over a muscle and get locked into place, it hurts like none other. And for a year or two after the fusion, I would get electric pains going up my spine as if someone shocked or put like a tasing rod to my spinal cord. So that didn't feel great.
That was the nerves, wasn't it?
Yes.
I know a little bit better because I can't imagine what you went through, but I've got 2 vertebrae fused together in my neck, and since like late 90s, and yeah, bone spurs and
Yep.
all of that fun stuff that comes along with it. And they're like, nope, we're not going to touch it. We're not touching your neck again.
But I
Which
do
I
think
wouldn't want.
I thank my doctor because he managed during the spinal fusion to unpinch a lot of nerves because my spine had curved so bad that I gained feeling, because I used to have feeling that ended at like the base of my ribs. Now I can feel all the way down to my hips. So I gained a lot of fusion.
Still no movement though with your legs.
No, I'm never going to, which is fine.
Well, I mean, I only asked that because one of your videos, you put up a little description on it and it said my leg moved or something. And then I didn't watch it. Right. So I didn't watch it. That's all I wanted to ask about, because I was watching all the others. It's just like, oh my gosh, can't get them all in.
They have leg spasms because of the muscles. When I was a kid, I would believe genuinely that my legs had their own brain, kind of like if you abandoned a building and nature took over. That's how I imagined my legs would function. So I always said that they had personalities. So like my left leg was very calm and wouldn't twitch often. My right leg has kicked my mom in the jaw more times than I can count growing up. So yes,
well,
they do.
That would come in convenient if you were really pissed off at her or something. Oh no, it was just a spasm, Mom.
I wish I could control the spasms, but I cannot.
That's, man. Okay, I admire you. You are very inspirational, especially the way that you handle it. I mean, like I said, you'd be great in comedy because your videos. I think you will. Lita, I appreciate you being here talking to us. I'm not going to take up much more of your time. It's been almost an hour, and I have had so much fun talking with you.
Thank you.
I hope everyone knows that, like I said, you can catch One Up on Amazon right now. You can follow Lita on all of her social medias. They're all in the description of this video. And I advise you to do it because you're missing out if you don't. You really are.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
And I can't wait to have you back when you have bigger news for us. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I didn't bring it up because I wasn't going to jinx nothing.
Hopefully so.
Well, I'm glad you were here. And like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed this show today. I've had a blast.
So did I. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you, Lita. If you want to hang out in the waiting room for just a couple of minutes, I'll be right back there.
Sure.
Thanks. I'd like to thank Lita for being here today and being our guest. I'd like to thank the Necrotizing Fasciitis Foundation for sponsoring our show. For more information on necrotizing fasciitis, please visit www.necfash.org. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great upcoming episodes like this one. And hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode. Please